All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the
Wheels Fall Off podcast.
I'm your host, Candace, also known as Spice from SpiceLifeTv, and this is my beautiful husband.
What up, y'all? This is Creed. Good to see y'all again. And this is the podcast that we talk about, develop, and learn about relationships, reentry, and reintegration.
That's right.
Particularly as it pertains to incarcerated individuals and their families.
That's right. So if you guys can see, we are back, and we are back in a new space. So this is our first time kind of having this official equipment on us, so just bear with us because we're a little rusty. But we're excited to be back with y'all because a lot's happened. So before we get back into where we've been and what's going on, we're going to start off with a little icebreaker just to kind of break the ice. Are you ready, babe?
I'm ready.
I got a question for you.
What you got?
If money and time were no objects, what would you be doing right now?
If money and time were no object, what would I be doing right now? Honestly, I'd probably be on the beach in Bali.
Oh, with me.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I would be.
Yeah.
Either Bali or Bora Bora or the Maldives.
Yeah. The beach holds a spot for me right now.
We just got back from the beach. Well, I'll save that because we're going to jump into that in the next segment. But yeah, I think I would definitely be on somebody's beach, drinking somebody's good drink and reading a good book.
Falling asleep, taking naps. You know,
letting that breeze just slap you in the
and
face
just stay there as long as possible, since time and money is not a factor.
There you go. That would be mine too. Okay, well that one was easy. So the next segment will be highlights and heartbreak, and this is the segment where we just talk about our highs and lows from the week, things that we love, things that we hated.
Absolutely.
So to start it off, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
I want you to go because I'm really interested to hear this.
Okay. Well, I got a few highs, and I think that we'll share some of those highs. But one of the main highs is this week on the 30th, we celebrated our second wedding anniversary. And then on the 29th, we celebrated Babe's third year from being home.
Yes, indeed.
Big things, all in the same week. So we did that by going to Ocean Shores. We took our baby Munchie to the ocean. That was his first time at the ocean. And Babe planned it all. He set up he got the hotel. We got the food. He did all of the plans, and I just had to show up. And that was the first time I've ever had that experience, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you was relaxed because you was sleeping in the truck on the way home.
I was sleeping and snoring. It was just a weekend full of my favorite things, which is the ocean, my man, and my Munchie.
Yeah.
Which we haven't told you. Munchie is our new baby. He is our 100-pound, 1-year-old Rottweiler.
Yes.
So you and check it, following us on TikTok and Instagram, you've probably seen a lot of him. But
the fat head rot, that's him.
That's our baby. So that's definitely my high. I think my heartbreak, which is kind of weird. It's one of the things that I've been kind of dealing with this last week or the last couple years with you being home. But the last week, because I've been thinking about why people are saying this to me. But people keep saying like, gosh, you're glow up, or you look so happy, or you're dressing so well, and you're doing all these things since Pookie's been home. You've been doing this and that. And it's kind of like, I love that people have noticed that I'm happy and that I do have a shine and that there's this like new motivation and inspiration. But the sad part is that it just reminds me one more thing that prison kind of like changed for me, because I don't feel like I'm different. I feel like the same person, but I think when I was doing prison, like everybody now is saying like, oh my gosh, you're dressing so edgy and you're doing this and all your hair. And it wasn't that I wasn't that before. I just couldn't do that before because at the time when Babe was incarcerated, I was young, not making a whole lot of money. So shopping was not something that I just had a luxury of just buying clothes. And with the constraints of him being in prison, I had to buy the clothes that I could wear to see him. So my wardrobe was very boring because I couldn't buy a work wardrobe, a going out wardrobe, and then a church wardrobe and a going to prison wardrobe. I could only afford one. So y'all just saw the one thing, and I kind of just wrapped everything all in that one type of wardrobe. And it just makes me kind of sad. Like I was just out here looking crazy.
Nah, you wasn't looking crazy. The sad
like
part
a
is
bumpkin.
The sad part is that like they talk about your glow up, right?
Yeah.
But what they don't see is give you the props of how you made that work. Because you was doing everything with that. Like you was going to work in those clothes and coming to see me and going out.
Those clothes.
And I'm telling you, She pulled it off, y'all. She pulled it
I
off
mean,
spectacularly.
if you've had anybody and gone to visit at all, it's very strict. So your clothes cannot have so many pockets. It can't have any rips. It can't have anything. The low cut, some of the pants, the trim or the waistline of the pants or the hem of the pants, the height of the heel. Like there's all these things that you had to have checked off. And so for me, it was just like I just needed one safe wardrobe that I can wear to everything. And now that I have that privilege of kind of spicing it up a little bit, which I enjoy, it just kind of is another thing that I'm kind of like, damn.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I'm particularly want to thank you for finding me special enough to buy clothes to come see me, because I'm dead serious. You know as well as I do. Some people have been like, well, he ain't gonna see me because I'm about to get this dress. I'm about to get this low cut top. You know, and you was like, no, the priority is my man. And you bought clothes to make sure that you was able to come see me all the time throughout all those years. You didn't care what you look like when you went out. You was like, I'll care what I look like when I go see him. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, babe. They just not giving the props in the right spot.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I mean, I still receive it, but it just kind of was one of those things. It's like, I don't think people really know who I am yet. I think they're starting to see it. And that's where I'm just kind of on this, like, I cannot wait for y'all to really see who I was, because you just have no idea, apparently. Yeah, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned. That's what's up.
What about you?
I like that.
Highlight, heartbreak.
I mean, highlight is the same as yours. Like, I looked forward to our anniversary so much that I wasn't even thinking about my 3-year anniversary.
Really?
I wasn't.
Oh, actually, you did say that.
Yeah, I wasn't. That day didn't come to mind until the day of, or I think maybe the day before. But our anniversary was so special because I always wanted a marriage with you, right? So that's always a big thing. But in particular, planning this trip, it was so stressful. And because I don't be planning stuff, y'all. It's not really my thing. You know what I'm saying? Baby usually plans our trips all the way down to the T. And it was like, I'm about to do this one. And I did everything. And it was like, this is about to be worth it. This is about to be worth the stress that I'm going through, because I was stressful all the way till I checked into that place. I could not relax. And I was like 2 months worth of stress. So that was my high, is being able to take her there, get her there, watch the smile on her face the whole weekend, get her and the dog home safely, you know? And when we got there, she was just like, thank you. That was worth it to me. That was my high. My low, it's just the last few weeks, I've noticed that a lot of people that I know who got out at my 3-year mark, which was on the 29th, are not here for one reason or another. Like, I really realized how many people that I know, we got out around the same time, and I'm not even in communication with them anymore for one reason or another, or they went back inside, you know? And just thinking about how happy I was not to have any police interaction for 3 years, you know? I can't say that for everybody else, which brings us back around to why we do this. Like, it's screaming at us. Like, we got to get back on our podcast, get on our relationship and reintegration thing, because there's people right around us that's suffering. And this is not talking about the people that we don't know who need our help, you know? So that was a low for me, just getting to my mark and then realizing, like, dang, where my dudes at, you know? And we all didn't make it here at this point. But, you know, shout out to them. I love y'all. But we got to keep pressing on.
Yeah.
For real.
Well, I mean, that is a decent segue into what we're going to talk about today. Kind of like really where the hell we've been and why we're here, why we're doing this. So if you guys don't know about our story, then let's just give you a quick recap. So me and my husband have been together for what now? 26, 4 or 5?
Yeah, 26
something
at least.
Like years. Yeah, we've been together a long time. We've known each other. I've known him since I was 11. We met at church. Our families were really good friends. We became fast friends. I had a crush on him for a lot of years. He was just kind of like a big older brother to me for a long time. And then our relationship kind of evolved, and we started dating. And early on, as we started dating, he got arrested for a crime that he didn't commit. We thought that this would be like an in and out thing. We go to trial. They show all of the evidence because none of it matched him, that he would come home. That did not happen. What happened was they found him guilty and convicted him of a crime that he didn't commit, which was
murder, assault, and robbery.
Okay. So with that came a 26-year sentence, and he served 22 of those 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I served those 22 years with him.
Yes, you did.
And so now we have decided to repurpose our pain. I mean, we've gone through every single stage of incarceration, and at every single stage, there was never anybody we could ask questions to, never anybody who could tell us, try this, do this, let's talk about it, or let's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of bumping our heads, a lot of stress. Even for him transitioning out, you would think that there'd be more resources or more information or people that are talking about, like, this is what you do when you get out of prison. There's not really a lot of that.
There's nothing.
And so going through that, we just decided there's people, this affects a lot of people, whether you have been incarcerated or your family member has been incarcerated. And the fact of the matter is they're coming home,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to know how to receive them home and how to prepare for them to come home so that they're successful and that they don't go back. And we want to help them be prepared as well as prepare ourselves
Mm-hmm.
so that we can be a good support and community for our loved ones that are coming home.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it no better myself, babe.
Good.
And another thing I just want to add is that, those of you who are formerly incarcerated individuals, understand that, we've been through everything, and you become a navigator sometimes through education, and sometimes you get that through experience.
Mm-hmm.
We got that through experience, and so we definitely want to share that with everybody. But also, just understand that there's stigmas on how formerly incarcerated individuals can get help. That I've learned since I've been home that we need to drop that. We need to drop that stigma when it comes to stuff like mental health, when it comes to stuff like counseling, when it comes to stuff like just having a mentor and somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to let those guys know that that's something you need to drop, because it's something that's needed and it's part of successful reintegration. But we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and even with Babe, what he's saying is very true, and we've seen that we've needed that. And I think that one of the benefits of us doing that is because we've actually gone through a lot of it, and we're still going through a lot of it. So there's steps that we can speak to that we would do things completely different, but also there's things that are coming ahead that we would just love feedback and some community on, because this is a hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize how institutionalized I was, and I've been free. I mean, basically free this whole time. Mm-hmm. But there's been a lot of things that I've had to change in my thinking and just my interactions with him. And talking about it, there's not a whole lot of people to talk to about it with. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the ladies you knew when we were incarcerated, they're either not together anymore, or their situation is just completely different than our situation. So it's not really one that I want to get advice from. So it's just been a very kind of a lonely journey a little bit, which has not been much different than the journey we did while we were in prison. So
yeah, and the downfall of a lonely journey like that is we have each other. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't have a strong connection as we may have, and so when it becomes lonely, it gets real daunting. It gets real dark for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and so just having somebody to be able to at least talk to, somebody that you can turn to, an example, even if you don't talk to them, somebody that you see doing well.
Right.
One of the things about us is that our community that we thought we had when we got out is one of the things that we figured is that we don't have like genuine friendships that mirror our lifestyle. Just like you just said. So you might have, one person in that relationship might be doing something that I don't really agree with, and that taints the whole friendship, because you have to do this correctly in order for me to be able to hang with you and have with a good conscience, and you hang with me and my wife. I want my wife to be comfortable, and I want to be comfortable with your wife. And if somebody's doing something scandalous, I don't want to have nothing to do with it. So it's like a lot of parts that has to be going correctly in order to have that friendship going. And we just kind of lost a lot of that.
Yeah. But we're really, really, really open to that.
We are.
We just want to have people that are our people, that love us for who we are, where we are, what we are, and understand, I don't know. I mean, a big transition for us has been our friendships, because the ones that we might have thought were at a certain level when we were locked up with them, we get out of prison, and it's basically
surface.
It was just surface, and you're thinking that we're really tight, like we got this bond, and we're gonna hang out and do these things, and then never even talk to each other ever again. That is hard for me to swallow sometimes.
What's crazy is this. I think when I first got in, one of the things I told you was that I would never be making friends with a cat I met over a bowl of oatmeal. And doing that much time, of course, being around people, you do meet cats over a bowl of oatmeal, and you get tight, you know. But the thing is, that rule stayed true to this day.
Yeah.
And that's one that I do regret going back on, is giving people chances, when in my mind and my heart, my principle with that was so rock solid, I should have just stuck with it. But trying to give people chances and trying to be a different person, you know, and I'm not trying to come off as holier than thou at all. I'm just trying to say that, you know, I've definitely felt the effects of those surface relationships, and it don't feel good. And the thing is, we want couples around us that are doing what we doing, which we are empowering Black couples. And we want somebody that's going to also empower us. That's the community we want, you know. And so with us doing this as a purpose of our lives, we just do it as a passion and a purpose, we're going to end up getting that. And we invite you to come with us every single week and learn more from us as we learn from you, and we get this thing straight.
Let's do it. One of the things I think that we've been having the hardest time finding is a therapist. One for our individual needs, and then one for us collectively. Because we haven't had any major issues come up, but we've had things come up that we're like, oh, maybe we need to get ahead of that, because that could turn into a problem. And we have tried so hard. We've I don't know why it's so difficult, but it is so difficult to find a therapist right now. And then on top of that, anybody who has a specialty with former incarcerated. So I'm going to just put this out there. If any of y'all are in school right now doing that, I'm telling you, that is a niche nobody's doing, and I think y'all would kill. Because we need y'all, and we're looking, and nobody's out here, and they're not advertising for it. So if you got that in you, this is definitely somewhere we should, collaborate. But that is something I know that you've changed your thoughts on that a lot since we have been together. Can you share maybe why you've started to be more open to that?
Because I've always felt and known I was a self-sufficient guy inside and out, right? So I have a problem, I figured out, I deal with it, figure out how not to let it happen again, or at least to lessen it. So since I've been home, there's been some things that, I just haven't been able to kind of get over that hump mentally, as far as like, because the world looks so different. The world goes at a different pace now. I don't think the world has ever changed as much as it did during the time I was incarcerated. So it's just like coming out here and trying to hit the ground running, trying to give myself a pat on the back for that. But it's exhausting. It beats you up mentally. And I'm all talking about mental. It's exhausting. It beats you up, and it doesn't give you a lot of confidence. So operating in that space on a daily basis, like, you may need someone to talk to, And like I said, the stigma is, we got liquor stores and weed. That's what Black people got, and we got to drop that, y'all. We got to go talk to somebody. And then it doesn't mean that you got to lay in the chair on the couch and tell your whole story. It's just like putting it out there in the air and getting some feedback. People don't understand how healthy that is, And so I'm currently trying to do it. Just have somebody that I can talk to on a regular basis. It could be once a week, twice a month, or once a month. But somebody different other than my wife, who as well as I do, we don't share everything with our spouses, and so that's just really, really big. And we really want to empower people to understand that you can get help and be healthy mentally if you do that and drop that stigma.
Which is another reason we want to create this space. We want it to be a safe space. I mean, ideally, eventually, I would like to have an in-person, like, couples group that we can just maybe be like potluck style. You bring like three or four couples. You bring your little snacks. We sit around. We talk about things that are going on in the week. If there's an issue, everybody feels safe enough to share what's going on, and we just hold it there. We talk about it and just like help support these couples get through it, because I've seen that happen, and I feel like that is such a game changer when you have other couples behind you fighting with you in your marriage.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it gets really hard and it gets really heavy, and I think because nobody talks about it, that's why it's so easy for people to just be ready to walk away from it. But I would love for this to become that space where we can have those hard conversations. Me and you can share things that are a little vulnerable, to let people know, like, this is not a perfect scenario. We are really, really just working hard at trying to do it the best that we can. That's like my biggest goal out of this, and letting people know they're not by themselves, and we got your back.
We definitely have your back. talking about growth, we were actually just discussing this. We had like God together, and that's another thing, y'all. Like, we want to make sure you incorporate God in your relationship, whether you're in prison or not. But we always had God with us while we were in prison. But we didn't do God together. We did it individually out here. When I was out, I did God. It was me and God. When I was incarcerated, it was her and God. So we had to learn how to incorporate God into our relationship while we were out here cohabitating. And that's not easy.
It's weird how that's not easy.
It's not easy because you're thinking, okay, if I'm committed to God and I'm getting all the answers, but you have to realize you're fighting against your own selves the whole time.
All while trying to cohabitate with someone new that you never lived with before. So it's all this like newness, and you're fighting the old and the old new, you and the new you, and trying to make sure God like hears you in there and not get in the way because he's just let him do it. That's kind of been where I think my issue is because I've been putting my fingers in the pot too much, and just not letting him have the control.
And I didn't know how to interpret what God was saying in my new role in coming home and being head of a household. I knew how to interpret what God was saying as a man who lives and takes care of himself by himself every single day.
Right.
So that was like, I think that was the thing that took me longer to come around to than therapy did. The importance of therapy in terms of the teamwork factor, understanding that a marriage is a team, right? And so there you want to and I think you was doing this for a little while too, but not as long as I was. It's like you want to remain an individual so bad because that's all you ever had. It's all you know. So but you have to realize is that there's no individuality in marriage. Like, you guys are a team down to the toes. Like,
if you're gonna do it right, you gotta have that mentality, because if you keep that like, I'm gonna keep my little independence and I'm gonna be this individual over here, it leaves a lot of room for you to X the partner out of a lot of things. And not saying that you don't have your own identity. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that, like, it's really difficult to make sure that the person that you love the most is the priority. Also making sure that God, of course, is the main priority. And sometimes what those two need or want are not always the same thing. And you're just trying to make sure you don't disappoint anybody.
Exactly.
And remembering that, like, really God is the main focus. So if I keep my energy on him, you will be taken care of. But it's hard to do that.
It's hard to do that. It's hard because you're out here and you're like, okay, God, I don't want to do it that way. You ain't never told me to do it that way before. Why? Because you haven't been in the situation before. But it's like, no, God, I don't want to do it like that. And then what I didn't realize is that because I'm not openly saying you're dismissed, doesn't mean I'm not making you feel like you're dismissed. When I don't communicate with you or I don't give you your half of the plan, like, this is what we're doing. I'm I figured out in my head and I go like I've already told everybody what's going on.
And I'm just chasing behind like, wait, what are we doing? What are we doing? Trying to catch up. And he's just going.
So then you would ask me like, what is the plan? And then I'm just kind of like, the mentality was, I never said this, but the mentality was, I got this. Just,
Yeah.
And now I'm not knowing that I'm coming across like this. Like, shut up, I got this.
He would take when I'd say like, okay, what's the plan, babe? He would take that as me challenging him, like of me making it seem like he don't know what he's doing. I don't know what you're doing, so I don't know how to do this if I don't know what you're doing. So we had to really work on that.
And God told me, he told me in my ear almost, like, it's all about communication, because you love her right and you love her strong and your eyes is only on her, so that's not the issue. The issue is that when you are in a space with her, you are not doing well communicating enough or thoroughly or effectively.
Well, I think too, I think that you maybe didn't always, because everything was so new for you and you're trying to catch up with a lot of things. I think that you've already expressed that there were things that you felt a little out of sorts with and maybe sometimes a little insecure about. And then when I would come with questions that maybe you don't know the answers to, you took that as me like poking you as like, yeah, you don't know. And I'm just really don't know. It wasn't like a challenge. It wasn't me thinking you don't have this. It was just fill me in on what the story is so I can support you in it.
Listen, I've known this woman for 30 years. I've known her for over 30 years. And I'm saying that to say is when I came home, it was one very, very revealing incident we got into. It was argument.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking and you were like, you think that I know, because I kept saying like you think you know what
Yeah.
I'm doing, or you think you know everything, and you were like, no, you think I do know everything, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I was like, oh, she don't.
I was like, I don't know what I'm doing
And
either.
but I never took any communication that you came to me before that conversation as you didn't know.
Mm-hmm. You thought I was saying it like
Yes.
facetious, like,
And that's
so what are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna do?
Exactly.
And I'm
So-
really like, no, what are we gonna do?
Yes, and that's what I mean. That's what I mean, because I always feel like, part of your voice is God's. And that's part of what I mean is when God is talking to me and I'm interpreting it wrong as a guy who takes care of himself, does his own thing, has his own plan, and moves alone. And I'm not taking it as, no, she doesn't know. She's asking.
And one of the other things for me that I've had to really work on with you is removing my ego.
Me too.
Because I realize how big it is and how it gets in the way a lot on things that's just not even necessary. So I'm just trying to first be like, okay, that triggered me, clearly. I feel a sting. Is it a sting that needs to be talked about, or is it a sting that's just like, girl, that was like,
Yeah.
That's on, you're feeling that. He didn't put that on you. You took that and you're feeling a way about that. That's something you kind of have to work on. And I've realized there's a lot of things I got to work on still.
Yeah.
Things that I get bothered about that has nothing to do with you, but you'll say something that brings something else up that I'm like, oh, that has nothing to do with that. It has totally to do with this, but he's bringing it up in this area that I'm not familiar with. It's weird how that happens a lot.
It's funny how your ego plays a part in both of our restructuring, because ego for me as a man, and it's not better or worse than a woman, but an ego for me as a man was, you need ego to push through. You need ego to have confidence. You need ego to do all these things that a man has to do. Well, nobody ever told me was that it's okay to have an ego until it crushes the ones you love. And it can't do that. And that's what I had to realize. And it's real hard to realize that you're doing that and then you're doing that in your home. Because your home is your sanctuary. Ever since day one, that's all we ever talk about, how we make our home our sanctuary. We never have to go anywhere. But there was times where our conversations would happen and then something I was doing or saying or not doing or not saying, ego-wise, was making you feel a certain way. It was crushing you. And that's a lot of weight for a man who's built by that and who moves like that. And it's just like, I'm pushing her down with my ego. Drop it. So there was a lot of times where I'd just be like, when I first learned how to kind of check my ego, you say something, I had to use just a ass face. Like, I'll be like, okay, all right, okay. And I just take it. But I've learned how to shove that aside. But at first it was really, really hard.
I think it helped me shove it to the side when I remembered that you always have my best interest. Like, I know that your intention is not for me to not be the top. So if you're doing something or saying something that's not making me feel like I'm the top, then I now know and trust that there's a misunderstanding somewhere, because I know that your intention is never to make me feel lower or less than or not appreciated.
Right.
Sometimes it's just the way that it's delivered that comes out that way. So unless I'm just in a mood. Sometimes I'm just in a mood. But most times I can kind of be like, okay, I'm going to bring that back later and be like, so what was that about? And a lot of times you'll just be like, I don't even have to. You'll come back and be like, okay, babe, I'm sorry. Or earlier today, that wasn't you, that was me. And I get a whole lot more back from you when I've just learned to be quiet for a minute and step back and give you a second to realize that you were just being a jerk. And then I don't have to tell you being a jerk. And then that saves a fight.
Shots fired. Y'all seen it. I'm not letting that go. But at the same time, you're right. You're right in the sense that sometimes even just the act of coming home from work, I'm still learning how to do that in a positive way. And it took me, I've been home 3 years. Yeah. I worked every day with the exception of the first month I was in work release. I worked every day since I've been home. And I'm still learning how to come home from work. And when I say that, y'all, it's like, I'm not necessarily talking about bringing the day home of work home from you. I'm talking about bringing home every single stress, everything I've been thinking about that doesn't have to do with work, don't have to do with you. As soon as I walk in the door, where I know I can let that stuff go, that's exactly what I do. But I drop it on my wife. I drop it on my wife in the sense of like very little communication. When I do, it's kind of
But you're actually a lot
rough.
better now.
I'm trying to get better. I'm
You're
trying
a
to get
lot
better.
better.
But I just noticed that when I pull out the driveway in the day, like I'm just thinking nonstop. And then sometimes at the end of the day, it's just like to this day, y'all, I come home and I need like 45 minutes. I just go home, kiss her. How you doing, baby? Kind of, get a little summary. And then she already knows. She'll be like, you gonna go downstairs? And I'll be downstairs in my man cave for about 45 minutes to an hour, just being quiet.
Yeah, and I totally don't mind that at all. I love that you do that. I'm just glad now you tell me that's what you're doing. I think it was an issue before when he would just come in, filling away, and then he would just disappear. And I'd be like,
no, yeah,
he doesn't like it here. He hates me.
Yeah, she did, and I see that's what I mean by crushing people, because that's how I was making you feel. I wasn't saying that, and I didn't feel that way, but that's how I was coming across.
And now he'll just say like, I need 20, and I'm like, cool, I'll give you an hour. Yeah, I'll give you all the time you need as long as I know that we're good.
Yeah, we're straight.
I wasn't sure we were good.
We're straight all the time, and it's like it's the only time the world is quiet, And for me, it's like I really cannot explain it to nobody. I see it in my head, but I can't put it into words. But it's something like if you're watching a movie or something, and just a whole lot of stuff is happening, and then it's just quiet, and it feels so relaxing and secure in that moment. And before, when I wasn't telling you I needed an hour, when I first started working, I was coming home. Yeah, because it would be like I'll be taking it to myself, not telling you I'm taking it. And then here you come around the corner like, hey, babe, I seen this. And you got two things that's happening right there. I want my time alone, and you got that phone in your hand, which at the time I hated the phone. I didn't want to see nothing on the phone, and but I wasn't telling you this. I wasn't telling you these things that were, as you say, triggering me. They were really triggering me, and I didn't know why, so I didn't know how to communicate that. We're getting better, though.
Yeah.
We're getting better. Like, we're way better now that we're talking about this right now.
I know. I was just thinking about a couple of things. Like, yeah, he don't do that no more. Because it's very, I think, too, a couple of things that helped us. One thing that was interesting that was hard for Babe when he came home was managing time, but also managing the space. Having so much space, which you think would be so easy to be like, oh, now you have all these drawers to put your clothes in. You have all these cabinets to put your things in. When someone's used to 20 years of just being in a 8x10?
Not even that.
If it was that.
Yeah, 6x9.
And you have one shelf for this and two drawers for that, and that's it.
And you got to make everything work.
It was really daunting for him. And it would cause this anxiety and this stress that I just didn't understand because he wasn't really sharing with me what was going on. But yet there was just messes everywhere. We had messes everywhere. Yet we have all this space and nothing's put up.
I didn't have a place for everything because it was too many places.
Too many places.
If that makes sense.
So we've started to look at what we've had the issue be. And from that, I was like, okay, clearly the messes are crazy. We can't function. We're not thinking very well. So the first thing we did was we got a house cleaner. We had someone come in once a week just to kind of, so we could have a clean slate, because I cannot function or think clear if there's just stuff everywhere. And we weren't doing that very well.
And I can't either.
Right. So we had someone come in and clean up for us. And then from there, we've just been like making sure we started a calendar where we write on the days of the week, because for him, it was, coming from a very regimented routine, that he felt like that would help him. So we have a calendar on the refrigerator that says like, these are the things you do on this day. These are the things you do on this day. And we've just kind of been trying to work on that. It's just little things that we notice like, okay, this is the problem. How do we fix it? And we just been addressing them. Yeah. And they're small changes, but they've really made huge changes in the big picture.
And I think what ends up happening is, and that goes back to the strength of the relationship, a real relationship that both of y'all are in 110% on, is that when, like with the calendar, it's still to this day hard to follow. If there's 7 things on the calendar, I might get to 2 of those that week. I might actually do 2, but before I wasn't doing none of them.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to build on that. But when she's not feeling something one day, And I'll say, okay, I gotta be positive. I'll be like, babe, what's up? What you doing? And she'll be like, I'm just kind of blah today or whatever. And I'll just try to be a little silly, and then she'll do the exact same thing for me. It's like that that back and forth, that give and go that we do is exactly what we're talking about. It's empowering because you're not going to have it every day as a husband, as a man, whatever. You're not going. I shouldn't say that. You're not going to feel it every day. You're not going to feel like doing all the stuff that you have to do every day. And just looking at her when I don't feel it, and then she got that look on her face like, you got this today? And I'd be like, you know what? You're fucking right, I got this today. And sometimes that's the little push I need, especially being freshly out here after 20-some years. That's exactly what I need, because some days it'd be like, man, I just don't want to put 10 toes on the ground today. But I put them on the ground every single day, but it's just hard. And having somebody like that, a woman who you respect, who you love, who you know got your back, who you know doesn't want anything bad to happen to you, and you want the exact same thing for that other person, that's the empowerment we're trying to teach and learn with y'all today. Seriously. It moves mountains.
I mean, we have so much more. We could always go on and on and on, and we will, just not today. We plan to do this weekly so that we can dive more deep into our personal relationship, but then also there's been a lot of questions that you guys have sent us that you want us to answer, and so we'll use the time to answer a lot of those questions, but we want you to continue to send more, and we want to get to know you guys too. So please, in the comments, let us know if this is something that this is something you connected to, and if there was a part that really hit hard or hit home for you, we'd love to hear about that. And if there are any more topics that you want to know, questions specifically for him on how he's reintegrating, or there's questions for me on the prison wife thing, feel free to do that as well. But like we said, the whole goal here is to repurpose our pain, and we want to really use that to help others that are going through things that we've already gone through.
And it's not just about talking. It's all about, we're into making connections with people that can help people like us. So, not only do we want to connect with the formerly incarcerated individual people and their family, we also want to connect you guys with the people we're making connections with. That's very, very important. Did I just say connections a lot?
That's cool.
Yeah, but
they got it.
That's very important for you to know that that's what we're doing. We're out here trying to make these connections and putting people in positions to win. Just keep the positive attitude, keep the positive mind state, and listen, the world moves out of the way for a man and woman who knows where they're going.
There you go. That's what's up.
Just remember that. That's do your part. Know where you're going.
And we know we're going.
Figure out the rest.
On our way.
For sure.
Well, y'all, we appreciate y'all being here with us for our first official To the Wheels Fall Off podcast of 2023. But we will be back next week, so please stay tuned. Like I said, leave your comments below. Please like, comment, and share. And yeah, we'll be back to see you guys next week.
Yay.
Peace out, y'all.